Hello, it's day 32 of my Achilles rupture, and as you can see, I am kind of just about walking, albeit in a boot. Now, as promised from last week, we're going to go through a little bit more of my workouts and what I'm trying to do whilst I've got this thing on. Before we get started on the nitty-gritty of the workout, I'll just give you a bit of an update since last week on how things are progressing in terms of the pain, movement, mobility, whatnot. Generally, things are getting much better. As you saw, I can now kind of start walking with one crutch, although really shouldn't be. Should be partial weight bearing with two. However, it's just one of these things that have kind of naturally occurred. I've even managed to walk a little bit full weight bearing, which I shouldn't be starting until next week. However, considering I'm a fairly young, healthy, fit individual, it makes sense that things progress a little bit faster. I am on one crutch-ish, especially moving around the house. Moving around the gym, I try and use both crutches or the wheelie chair instead. But generally speaking, I'm now being able to survive little journeys. I'd put that down to the set protocols, basically, the Achilles rupture protocol that the NHS has given me. Now, if we think about it, that protocol is a one-size-fits-all. Let's pick an example person, I don't know, 80-year-old man, a little bit overweight, drinks whiskey all his life, never really done exercise, is probably going to have a slower recovery period than, myself, being younger, healthier, bit more knowledgeable, having more access to the gym, things like that. I'm exercising as well as best I can, so my blood flow's going, I'm keeping an eye on my nutrition. It would make sense that my recovery is going to be that much faster anyway. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a dangerous period when I start to think, or when we have an injury, when we start to think we're capable, and it's going beyond that capability. So it is trying to be aware of what's going on, especially once my leg starts to burn, the very stinging, burning sensation in the surgery site. That's when, okay, right, that's enough. Back on the crutches, back on another crutch if I need to. If I'm on both crutches, it'll be sit down. If I'm sitting down, it's still burning, it'll be put the leg up. Just trying to recover where we can, but also trying to keep moving as much as we can. Which also brings me on to a unique challenge with nutrition. When the Achilles first went bust, it was like straight away I was full on sedentary, right? I was on the sofa, not doing anything. People were getting stuff, well, I say people, the wife was getting stuff for me. I was just utterly sedentary, so calories dropped massively. Now, however, I'm moving around again. What was the simple thing? I had my sunglasses in the car. Now, before I asked my wife to go and get them for me. Now I'll go out and do it instead. I'm getting more active. I'm taking the bin out, I'm putting washing out, I'm doing washing up, I'm cooking more. Little bits of activity that add to that neat profile of the nutrition. So I've now got to start being aware of calorie burn, and I want to retain muscle, so I don't want to be too much in a calorie deficit. However, this is also a good time to try and lean out a little bit as well. So that has brought me on to the challenge of being able to weigh myself to know whether my calories are doing the right thing. Yeah, there are the calorie trackers online, but I really don't like them. They're not very accurate, and it doesn't take into account people's metabolisms. Now, I have quite a high metabolism as it is. I'm one of these people that can eat lots and still not put any weight. Brilliant for weight loss, awful for muscle gain. So, different side of the coin, different problems. So my challenge now is weighing myself. Now, I don't want to weigh myself with the boot on, because that's not my true weight. So now what I start to do is just very, very carefully take my foot out of the boot, rest my toes on the scales. I'm still balancing on one foot. So it does mean the scales won't settle on a particular number. However, I can start to get a close approximation of what my weight is, which now means I can adjust my nutrition profile to suit. Another thing to update on is mainly the heat. Now, yeah, it's been warm for the UK this time of year. It's been warm anyway. So trying to keep cool is quite a challenge. Yes, I've got an aircon unit for the bedroom, but that's only in the bedroom, so it's only where I can sleep. What I have started bending the rules a bit is having when I'm relaxed, when my foot is up, I'll take the top portion of the cage off the boot So this top portion here undoes. And then what I can do is I can take this portion off, and I'll open up the cover, and then that means my leg can just get a bit of air, bit of drying as well, and just trying to let my leg cool, which helps my body regulate the temperature as well. Now, what I have found in this position, I can sort of wiggle my toes a little bit more, give it a little bit more movement, and of course, out of curiosity, I've tried to see how much movement I can get, how much dorsiflexion, how far I can get my toes towards my shin as I can. And that is understandably severely limited. So that's hopefully something we're going to work on when it comes to physio time. However, can move it a bit, which is okay, it's slight improvement. I'm hoping next week when I go to the NHS again, go to the hospital, they will, one, I should be full weight bearing officially by that point. They should allow me to be full weight bearing. And two, I'm hoping they'll lower the wedge a little bit, which will start to give me, or start that process of getting some range of motion, getting some flexibility back into my ankle. Likewise, with the boot open, I can kind of wash my leg ever so slightly. Again, it's one of those things I said not to. I'm keeping the surgery site clean and dry. It's just helpful to just wipe away some of that sweat, get a little bit of a disinfectant wipe on there just to try and keep the leg as good as we can. I did change the lining as well one day. Again, another thing I said shouldn't, but I did. Mainly because it was wet, it was soggy, it was smelly, it was really uncomfortable. Being safe, being very careful to keep my foot elevated. They do say, granted, they do say, should I need to take my foot out of the boot for any reason, to keep my toes pointed. So I did that. Wife changed the lining for me, put it back in. I put my foot back in the cage of the boot. Hey presto, job done. No issues caused there. And it did make life just a little bit more comfortable, which is nice. So for anybody who is in the similar situation, I survived it. Take that as you will. On to the workout side of things. So I'm probably going to try and go in order. Like I said about my activity increasing, my ability to train is also increasing at a fast pace as well, or what could be considered faster than I thought might happen. So in my mind, I was going to progress every 2 weeks or so in line with what the hospital are telling me. However, starting off with the leg training, just try and retain as much muscle mass as we can. Last week was single leg exercises, mainly because a lot of my movement around in daily life is all on one leg. Now I'm being able to disperse that across both legs. It's made me more confident to do more in the gym. And also there's less pressure on the left leg, which means I have to make up for it with the right leg. Now I'm getting even dispersal, or more even dispersal. I'm thinking, okay, I need to start training both legs bilaterally. So things like leg extensions now, I've managed to do them with the boot on. Although light, very lightweight, because I'm not sure how much weight the structure of the boot can take. It's going high reps and a definitive pause at the top of the rep as well. Going full range as much as I can manage. Yes, with my feet in the pads, my legs are slightly different heights. For the leg extension, that's okay. For the hamstring curl, different matter. Because there's a lot more structure on the back of the heel rather than the top, it pushes my leg out just that little bit more. Likewise, there's also a lot of pain and pressure on the underside of the foot when we try to use a hamstring curl machine, so that stopped real quick. I think I managed 2 reps and went, nah, not going to do it. So I'm using a lying banded hamstring curl instead. Band force profile isn't great, but it is more resistance than just using my body weight and gravity. And likewise, the pressure is going through the foot rather than through the back of the ankle, which is much better, it's much more comfortable. I can also take some of the pressure with my good foot as well. It's just some way of training the hamstrings at the moment. Yes, I can kind of do good mornings or something like that, but unfortunately my hips are just a bit too far over, I'm a bit too tilted for my liking. So a prone hamstring curl is working so far. The abductor and adductor machines are going well. Yes, knees are slightly different height, but I'll take that at the moment. They're near enough at full capacity. Now, yes, I lowered the weight just to be on the safe side. However, I reckon I can bump that up a bit quicker, a bit sooner. Generally, again, wanted to start a little bit lower, mainly because I want to see how much my calves would tense up, just tensing during the movement. And fortunately, it wasn't too bad, so I reckon next week maybe we'll jump up. I probably won't go full capacity just yet. Mace training. Oh, before I move on to mace training, hip thrust as well. I've started doing some hip thrusts, complete body weight so far. Now that is one I need to be careful with, because towards the end of the last set, yes, I started to feel a burning, stinging sensation in my foot, or back of the ankle, in my Achilles. So I need to be careful with that one. That might be, though, as progress is being made fairly quickly, it might be that next week I can do it a little bit more, a little bit safer. It's going to be a while yet before we start putting any weight to it, especially not any like full training weight. But it's nice to know that I can start getting some glute development or glute training on the way to slow down this muscle loss process. Maybe even just being able to try and maintain where I am at the moment. Mace training is going well. I'm still stuck to the traditional work. Flow work is definitely not there. I can't step, I haven't got enough mobility. There's not enough evenness on either side of the body to facilitate that. However, yesterday actually, I did manage some EMOM work doing standing. Yes, a slightly off balance, but to do it standing was great. Just 10 minutes, set number per minute. And then when it came to finishing my set, I'd kneel down just in between, and then stand back up again to try and keep the pressure off the foot. I have been able to start doing some drills again. So there's like some helicopter practice, some little bits of practice here and there of the flow work of the more complex movements, which is good. And likewise, I'm starting to be able to host Mace classes a bit better. Did one last night. Granted, there was a few things I couldn't demonstrate, but fortunately I had other people in the class who are a little bit more experienced members, and I'm starting to use them to demonstrate things instead. So I can tell them sort of roughly where to go. My Mace class members will then demonstrate to the newer class members as well. Upper body training is not really a lot to say about it. I'm on the machines, it's not really affecting the lower body. I would maybe try cables for the lateral raises this week, maybe next week, we'll see. In a minute I'm using resistance bands instead. It does the job, however it's just not quite heavy enough, and likewise the resistance profile isn't great. It's at its strongest when the delt is at its weakest point. So we'll try and do that. Maybe have a look at some inverted rows, because the banded rows are okay. I just prefer the inverted row a little bit, whether that be on a TRX or on a bar. We'll see, we'll get round to it. But otherwise, seems to be okay. Longsword training is understandably nowhere near at the intensity I need it to be. But as I say quite a lot, we need to focus on what we can do, not what we can't do. So getting some skill work in. I have managed to get a bit of a setup going on with a bicycle stand and a dog toy, just to give me a little bit of reaction, give me some point control. Trying what we can, trying to just keep sword in hand and keep up with whatever skill is there. It'd be nice to be able to move. I am currently kneeling at the moment. From the mace work where I was standing, I think this week, so it'll be tomorrow on the agenda, I'll try some stuff standing. I won't be doing passing steps or gathering steps, but I'll try and do what I can standing. Just allow a little bit more hip rotation, a little bit more relaxed movement. I have found that when I'm kneeling on the floor, I'm having to really tense the shoulder and reach that shoulder up to get the distance. That's the kind of, when I'd be stepping, I'd be getting the distance with the sword with my feet, not necessarily my shoulder. So that's something where I don't want that to start turning into a bad habit of, when I do get back onto my feet, really tensing and shrugging the shoulder, which is going to use energy. So hopefully if I can get back standing, that might get me a bit more back natural without me shrugging the shoulders. And interestingly, the ab workout that I'm doing at the moment, I could almost argue that actually I'm going to be developing more, because I never really had a set core workout, I always bolted on some core stuff onto other splits that I would do. So this is going to be interesting to see if my core actually gets better than it was before, and let's make the most of it. Let's get that better and then maintain it later. Rollouts are being quite handy. It's provided me quite a good stimulus without putting pressure on the feet. Lateral. Screen wipers are a bit tricky. With the weight of the boot, it makes things a little bit harder. So I have to go for a bent leg position just to accommodate the weight of the boot. Granted, we could progress eventually to go straight legs. However, the weight of the boot isn't great, isn't massive. When you start to do it at length, so a bigger moment arm, it does add quite a bit of tension and resistance. Which also at the moment I don't want to get too sweaty. Granted, now I can wash, or I can sort of against the rules wash my leg a bit. But I don't have to worry too much. I can start to try and push a little bit harder. The side planks are okay. They do the job. I'm getting some stimulus in the obliques. It'd be nice to do them heavier. Maybe this week I might try with a straight leg position, see if my ankle will take that load, because at the minute the load's going through the knee. We will see. That'll be a nice one to upgrade to if I can, to help make that stimulus a little bit harder. The Cobra raises are okay. Again, it's just a lower back stimulus. I'd rather be doing some hyperextensions on the Roman bench, but due to how the foot fits and the big bulk on the boot, it's not really possible at the moment. So again, just trying to get in whatever we can. Have I missed anything from the core data? Oh, and sit-ups as well. Just a nice little bonus, just trying to get that flexion of the spine where we can. It's just whilst I'm on the floor, whilst I'm there, it's quick, it's easy, it's accessible. Haven't really got to get any weights for it, which means the setup time faster. As I said, I don't quite have as much time anymore due to having to rely on people to give me lifts to and from work, and I'm at their mercy of when they arrive as to when I can get started. So it's quick, it's accessible, it's getting the work done, it's getting a stimulus. Doing core days is not something that particularly motivates me, which I can imagine might be a problem for most people as well. There's exercise you want to do, and there's exercise that we do because we know it's good for us. And the core day is kind of in that for me. I'm doing it because I know I've got to do it, and it's good for me and whatnot, but it's not something I'm motivated to do. So try and keep it relatively quick anyway. To get it in, get it done, just keep something going. And then when I'm back to capacity, I can start bolting on the core stuff onto the other workouts. And likewise, things when I start getting back into flow, that starts bringing in more core work. When I can start getting back into the squats, the intra-abdominal bracing, that's going to start adding some more core stimulus to it. So that's how I prefer to sprinkle my core work across everything, rather than have a set day. But that's just personal preference for me. So that's the workout update so far, as promised from last week's video. Hopefully in a couple of days, like I said, I'll be visiting the hospital again. We're going to go through a check of the wound, which isn't too bad at the minute. It looks fairly dry. There is a little spot of blood on the back of the plaster, but otherwise nothing that I'm particularly worried about. And I should have a bigger update for you in the next video, because I should be fully weight bearing, and we'll find out whether we can lower the wedge or not. I will be allowed to wash my leg. I'm really hoping that by that they mean I can have a shower. Can I stand in the shower? Because that would be really nice to have a proper shower. It also helps with my work balance as well, because then I can use the gym showers rather than having to try to splash like a bird in a sink. Stick around, we'll keep going with these updates. I'm tempted to do a follow along workout video of the ab routine I'm doing. So whether you've hurt your ankle, or you've broken your ankle, or you just want another ab workout, that might be one. So if you do want to see that follow along ab workout, drop a comment. That'll give me a bit more motivation and help me to prioritize my workflow, so that I can get one out for you and we can do an ab workout together. I'll see you soon.